Okay, we're going to get started. I think everybody, there's something here. I think everybody is settled in, so we're going to get started. Again, my name is Stacey Johnson-Cosby, and I'm a real estate agent with ReeceNichols Realtors, Country Club Plaza. You're going to meet some more real estate agents here tonight. And the reason we're doing this is because maybe 4 years ago in 2019, as a former BOE member. So I served on the BOE representing the Center School District. So I know for over 10 years what they were looking for in appeals. And our goal at that time was to share with the public during the 2019 fiasco. Anybody remember that? Yep, here we are again. Who knew? But at that time, we did workshops. We did 13 workshops. We did them all over the city. And we were doing them because things were popping up and we were learning things as we went along, saying we have more people that need help, so we needed to keep doing them. Our goal this time was to try to do maybe 3 big ones and not to, not to have to do 13 again, because again, these are volunteers and we're just trying to consolidate it. Who would have known we'd have, this many people today? So I apologize for the inconvenience of having to deal with the parking lot, which I heard is a nightmare, and to come in, but we thank you for being here. And so this time, when it was time for the taxes to come out, the assessments to come out, I thought someone from legal aid reached out to me and said, "Hey, Stacey, we're going to, do it again. Are you interested?" And this was in May, and I'm thinking, no, we don't need to. The county learned their lesson the last time. They had 4 years, lesson learned. And then this man standing next to me called me when the bills started hitting the mailboxes. He said, "We got to do it again." It's like, please no. But he said, we have to. And then I started hearing from taxpayers that it was just an absolute nightmare what people were getting. So our goal tonight is to share information from different experts, and we will have an opportunity for questions. Our goal and our format for the night is to be in here for less than an hour, just as however long it takes to move through our speakers who's sharing information. And then, like I said, there's no way that we have enough real estate agents to talk to people here. So we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do that. And maybe we just point you to find a real estate agent in your community or one that may have sold your home or something along those lines. But we do have a few here, and we could say they can help people maybe without computers, but we'll talk about that. So you're going to hear from several different speakers. We'll take a couple questions afterwards, and then we will break up, and you may either leave, or the ones who are able to stay to talk to real estate agents will be in the room next door, and we'll organize a way to get you in there. But at this time, I want to introduce Joseph Jackson, the person who pulled me into this again, and he's going to get started. He's going to share some information with you, and then you're going to hear some tips, and then we're going to hear from a loan officer to talk about those who have mortgages. We're going to hear from an insurance agent. And then our Alderman, one of the Raytown Alderman, Ryan Meyers is here. He's also an appraiser. So we're going to get to hear from him. And then we're going to have some real estate agents share some tips, and then a legal aid attorney. And I think we had another attorney that may be coming too. Is she here? Oh, so Sherry DeJanes. Sherry is here. Yay. So we have a couple of attorneys that'll take questions from you all. And then again, we have our former Jackson County Legislator, Dan Tarwater, is here. And so yay. Where is he? Stand up, Dan Tarwater. He's here. We wish we could have got him on. Wish we could have got him on the council, but we have other things for him to do for us. And so he is here. He's going to share tips from his perspective. So you're going to hear from all perspectives. And so on that note, I'm going to stop talking, and Joseph will talk, and then you will hear from Marla Dickinson.
First, good evening. Thank you all for coming out. I am a former Board of Equalization member. I was the treasurer for the Kansas City Public Schools, an elected official there. And I'm in the same boat as you all. When I opened up my letter, it said I went up 91.83%. So we're all in the same boat together. And when I saw that, I said, "Stacey, we're going to have to do this again, because this is going to go." But folks, the reason why it's so important to fight it right now, because this becomes the basis in which they work on in 2 years when they come back again for reassessment and reappraisal. So we've got a few slides. If you can start with slide number 1, please. We've all gotten this in the mail, the property tax bill that's going to be coming this year. But the question becomes, we don't know where that money goes. So next slide, please. The dollar bill. So raise it up just a little bit. 61% of your property tax dollars goes towards your local school district. So that could be Raytown, Lee Summit, any of the 16 municipalities you go to that school district. Even if you're retired, you don't have children, you still pay that. 13.85% goes to the county fire department or your local fire department. 9.90 goes to your city, so that could be Blue Springs, Lee Summit, Grandview, Raytown. Then 6.24% goes back to Jackson County because Jackson County has 16 cities within it. Then 4.62% goes to your local library. 2.10% goes to the metropolitan community colleges. 1.14% goes to your mental health fund. 0.86 goes to the county disability services, and 0.26 goes to the blind pension fund. So that's a breakdown of where your dollars go when you pay them. And I will be brief and go from there. If you have any questions, I'll real quickly, but if not, Stacey, next speaker.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Marla Dickinson. I'm a loan officer here, and I work with individuals in the community. And I'm here just to provide resources for you, or suggested resources that may be available to you. One thing that you may want to consider as the tax bill goes up and there's an escrow, reach out to your lender. Ask for, while you're working on an appeal or objecting the amount, ask for an extension. They can extend the terms 12 months, 24 months. You won't know what your options are until you reach out. In addition to that, there are HUD certified counselors. If you're needing help even completing the paperwork and you're not connecting with the realtor, you can connect. And I would Google, and I've just done it sitting here. There is a toll-free number to reach a certified HUD counselor, and I'll have them put it on the slide before we leave today. But just know there are a number of different resources available and entities that can help you. And the first and foremost, reach out to a HUD counselor. Habitat for Humanity can help you with a certified counselor, lead you to obtaining a solution. Reach out to your lender. There are a number of different options that you might have to lower the payment, extend the amount while you're working out an appeal. Every bank is different, but their resources are available at each and every bank. You can Google a lot depending on your lender. Go out to the internet and put your lender information in and ask the question, who do I speak with in reference to my escrow? Who's the tax person that I could speak with? They can give you specific options as it relates to you. I think the bottom line and the clear message is we don't know what we don't know. And as we reach out, we can ask fact-finding questions and have that individual point you to the right resource. And if you're not finding what you're needing directly dealing with your lender, reach out to a non-for-profit. There are a number of non-for-profit agencies in the city that are here to support homeowners. They will either answer your question or get you to someone that can assist you in this situation. I know it's frustrating, and even as a loan officer on loans that I'm closing, new homeowners, they're reaching out for fear of the payment going up or not being able to affordability. But what I can say, everyone's situation is different. And I would encourage you, if that is a concern, to talk with your lender or find a non-for-profit counseling agency. It may not even be where it's based on income, but it's a service that's provided because you are a homeowner. And there are many in the city. Did you have a question, sir?
Just a second, I'm going to bring a microphone over to you.
So
answer a couple questions.
In that situation, and I'm sure a lot of individuals are in the same boat where you don't have a lender, I would say to you, reach out to a non-for-profit.
Thank you. Where do I find, I have no idea where to go to find a not-for-profit.
Absolutely. What I'm going to do is ensure that we have information to put on the overhead. One would be Habitat for Humanity. They're in the city. There are a number of different agencies. Chess Incorporated can possibly assist with a certified HUD counselor. I think the key is ensure they're certified HUD counselors and they'll be able to direct you. There is Habitat for Humanity. There's CHWC on the Kansas side. There are a number of different agencies, and I apologize for not being equipped with the full list, but we will do what we can in this session to list a number to several. But I would urge you, if you simply go out to the internet and Google certified HUD counselors in my area, I believe it gives you a search to enter your zip code or address. It'll give you a list of ones closest to you. And just for informational purposes, if any of you have your original documents from your home when you purchase, those list of agencies are there. For every application and closing documents, they have those items listed in the closing packet. Go ahead, ma'am.
A question over here. Okay, just a moment. I don't see where you're coming from. Right here.
If you go to a realtor with a question or, advice, how much are you going to be charged for that?
Let me. Uh-oh, microphone. As a real estate agent, if you're looking for advice or to have them pull comps for you, most of them won't charge. They do that as a community service. So most of the real estate agents will pull the comparables for you of other properties that have sold that are similar to yours for you without charge. Am I right, real estate agents? We'll do it without charge. And here's a question.
What do appraisers charge?
Yeah, we're gonna have an appraiser come up and we're gonna ask the appraiser what he charges. We're gonna take maybe 2 more questions and then we're gonna move to our next speaker.
The request for a reappraisal has to be done by July 10th.
We're gonna have an attorney, Emily with legal aid, is gonna talk about the timeline, and Sherry DeJanes will be able to help. Our attorneys can talk about that actual, like the deadlines and the process. That's okay. Anything else? Marla, thank you. I think
The last thing that I'd like to say, that the best thing you can do is stay well informed and keep listening to individuals to point you in the right direction. And there are resources available. Just keep reaching out and asking those fact-finding questions. Thank you.
wait, we have one more question, I think. Real quick. Somebody had one. Is that what you're saying, Jabari? A real quick question.
I understand that you're referring us to a lot of these groups that are volunteering, but where's the Jackson County responsibility here? Why are we asking these other people to do all of this volunteer work? Jackson County caused the problem.
Yeah. Agree.
Muted again, Ken. We understand that, but we can't wait for them. And that's why we're just picking up doing this ourselves. And you can always call the county executive, Frank White, who is responsible. But guys, doesn't he need to hear from us? He needs to hear from us. And so you can call Frank White. And what we're going to do at the end of this, we're going to talk about some action steps, what we can do next time. I mean, as we prepare when we get to the end of this process. Our goal is to get you through this appeals process, but there's going to be some action steps that we're going to be able to take. And we're going to talk about that before we leave, while we have everybody kind of mobilized. We're going to talk about it. Our next speaker is Mary Nestel. Many of you in South Kansas City will know her. She's a longtime insurance agent. And so we've asked her to talk about the impact on your insurance premiums and the policy because of this, because we're getting those kind of calls. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Stacey. Stacey asked if I could talk how the two kind of come together, and the two, they really don't come totally together. Your insurance is another bill that we all get. And I know we all are insurance poor and we hate to talk about insurance. A lot of people don't even understand insurance, but we have to have it, right? So I want to do one disclaimer. I'm in the same boat you all are. I have to pay the taxes too, and insurance agents do not get discounted rates. So I'm paying the same, and they're going up. They're going up on your car insurance. They're going up on your homeowner's insurance, and it's because of the bad drivers. It's because of the uninsured drivers. It's because of the lawsuits. It's because of people not caring and respecting each other. So there are insurance companies now starting not to take on new business too. So you're going to see that starting to happen as well. It's already happened in California and Florida. There's even companies now, because of the theft on Kias and Hyundais, that your rates are either going to go sky high or they won't insure you at all. So as for your homeowners is in your escrow. And so when you get your homeowner's bill and they say you're short, what do? Well, your taxes and insurance. Most of the time, the insurance, yes, it did go up, but it doesn't go up near as much as they tell you. So Do your homework, call your agent, have your agent explain it to you, as well as get the real numbers. Because with an escrow, there is a cushion, and that cushion is way more than usually it needs to be. But a lot of your loans anymore, sometimes to not be set up the right way, and they're being sold off. I was just talking to a customer tonight before I came here. She's been on the phone for 6 weeks trying to figure out why she has a $6,000 shortage. That shouldn't happen, but she's now trying to find it out, and it's because the loan's being sold. So money is being borrowed. So many things are a pool, just like insurance. We all pay for it. And every day, I can't tell you how many people I have to explain that to. So when I have a car accident, you're all paying for it too. When my house catches fire, you're all paying for that too. And that's why just people need to be smart and educate each other and work together as to how we can try to keep everything more sensible, more relatable, more respectable. And then the insurance companies, we're not like the government. We don't have a little guy in the basement printing money nonstop. We do have a budget, and that's the premiums. And when the premiums run out from these exorbitant lawsuits, your premiums go up so we can pay your claims when you need us, because we want to be there when you need us. I want to be there when you need me. And that's what every company wants to do. So anyone have questions on insurance? You probably have a ton, but
I have a real quick question for you, Mary. I didn't say the name of your insurance company and where you are. So if anybody's looking for insurance, the hometown real insurance person, where's your company?
oh, I am actually an independent agent. A lot of you may even know my father. He was a State Farm agent for 42 years. I worked for him for 26. I am just down the street here at 92nd and Ward Parkway, and it's Nestel Insurance Agency, and I'm an independent agent. So an independent agent is who a lot of you are going to want to go to instead of a captive, because we have more companies. I can search 5, 6, 7, 8 companies and search the rates for you so you don't have to.
Okay, we have 2 questions that I can see right here.
Yeah, just a quick question. You were mentioning about, them changing, selling off your mortgage. Well, that's happening to us right now at the same time this is happening. So do I need to contact the new insurance?
Your insurance company is going to get notified. In fact, I'm dealing with probably 5 changes a day anymore, because they're also trying to go to automated systems. But a lot of these mortgage companies, just like insurance on cars, they're hiring third parties to administer all the paperwork. So no, you might get a letter saying notify your insurance company, but they should also be notifying the insurance company, since if they're on the policy the right way. Yeah. Yes.
I heard you say that the insurance and the assessments don't overlap, or the escrow doesn't overlap. But if we pay more, or our houses are considered to be worth more, doesn't that increase how much insurance we have to pay because we have a replacement cost or a fire cost? So don't they really go hand in hand? If one goes up, then we have to pay for the other one.
Well, yes and no. That's one thing I have said for my 35 years in the insurance industry is there's 3 prices on your home. And I tell this to every one of my customers. There's the sales price. You want that high. There's the county tax price. You want that low. And then there's your insurance price, and you want that to be exactly correct. So when it gets hit by a tornado or fire, you're insured properly and we can replace everything. So you might right now, especially with construction costs, I will say, and I agree that replacement cost numbers are high. I just had a house 2 years ago that was only 800,000 is now at $1 million. I also think sometimes insurance companies are overcompensating on that replacement cost for the gouging that we get from contractors. It happens. I get it. We all do. But they really do take advantage of insurance companies. I just had a 900 square foot condominium that ended up having a $50,000 water loss that only started out as a leak in the ceiling. That used to not happen. But the customer didn't know, the contractor came in, they tore all the walls out, and we had to pay for it to fix it. That's what we're here for. That's what we do. That's what your policy says. But you're right. 3 things on your house. Jackson County taxes, you want low.
Okay, I don't have a question.
Is that it?
Wait. We have one more.
Okay.
We had a question back there, but he's going to ask another speaker. And I have a lady over here that was waving to get attention. Anybody in the meantime, before we get there? Okay, I'm coming to you, and I think this is our last question, and then we're going to go to our next speaker.
This is an opinion question. And in effect, it's also about insurance and property taxes. my neighborhood has been bought out by out-of-state and out-of-country investors. So property values have gone up because they charge rent. I don't charge anybody rent. I live in my house, you know, so they don't care how much they pay for that house because they can charge $1,300 to $1,700 a month. So is it in your opinion that the out-of-state, out-of-country investors are driving up the cost of homeowners insurance and property taxes?
I've said for a long time, yes. I really hate seeing when I had a customer that just wanted to buy this gorgeously refixed house in the Northeast, but it had a squatter in it and they couldn't get the squatter out. They finally get the squatter out and then she finds out that the owner lived in Israel. It's a problem. It's a big problem. And I don't know if some of you may not know, I ran for city council and that was one of the things I want to stop is this out of town home ownership, because you don't have the owner taking care of the property. And we're losing Kansas City homeowners on a daily basis. Kansas City, real Kansas City is. Those of us that have lived here, we are losing us daily. And we need to fight to keep the Kansas City that we know and love because it affects everything. It affects our police department, our housing, our insurance, our crime. It's all connected. So, and this is a prime example with taxes.
Okay,
But yes.
Thank you, Mary, for being and taking time out of your schedule to be here tonight. Thank you. Come on. Our next speaker is not only an appraiser, but as I mentioned, he's an elected official. He's an alderman in Raytown. And he just said to me, he said, I'm a walking contradiction. I'm a politician that doesn't like public speaking. Ryan Meyers, you are on the spot.
Stacey, you told me there were gonna be like 100 people here. Okay, so for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm guessing most of us are in Kansas City. My name's Ryan Meyers. I am a Ward 3 alderman in the city of Raytown. So like Stacey said, I'm actually a commercial real estate appraiser. However, I am licensed to do, I can appraise anything. Just don't bring me your Rolex. I don't know anything about those. So Stacey asked me to kind of give you a breakdown on how the assessments are, how they're formulated. So for Jackson County, I'm sure over the last year or so, you've seen those little white vehicles driving around that, you know, says Jackson County Assessor on it. They might even come into your house. So they're taking measurements, they're taking pictures, they're updating their what they call the assessment rules. And they set your market value, which I'm assuming everyone's gotten their assessment notice by now. So you'll see a market value and an assessed value. The way that they get to that market value is what they call a mass appraisal. So Jackson County has over 1 million parcels of land. Now, Jackson County does not have 1 million employees to go look at that, so they have to do a mass appraisal. So for example, in the city of Raytown, they probably break Raytown into 5, 6, 7 different small neighborhoods where they pull sales from each neighborhood. And they'll take those sales and they'll compare them to your house. So they'll find some sales, you know, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet, yada, yada, yada. Here's the comps for this. And this is what we think these houses that are 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet, that's what we think they're worth. That's what's on your market value. So on your assessment notice, you're going to see a market value and a assessed value. So what's the difference? So your market value is, by definition, state statute, market value. I'm not going to go, it's very long, but at the end of the day, it's what I'm willing to pay and what you're willing to accept. For single family homes, that's generally the sales price. Now, there may be some adjustments for if appliances were included in that. Appliances aren't considered market value. It's real estate only. So when we get to assessed value, for state of Missouri, the assessed value is 19% of your market value. Now, different states have different, Kansas is 25%, Iowa is 100%. At the end of the day, doesn't really matter. So you have your assessed value on your assessment notice. So if you divide that number by 100 and then multiply it by the mill levy, which Mr. Jackson had how the breakdown is between fire, school, yada, 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 that's the mill levy. That's how your property tax is calculated. So what does that mean? So my house, For example, my house went up, I think 50%. Some of us went up 80%, 90%. I've heard of stories of people going up over 100%. I get it. I get it. Does that mean that your property taxes are going to go up 50, 80, 90, 100, 200, 500,000%? No, it doesn't. So there is a silver lining. I will say that in 1983, the Missouri legislature passed something called the Hancock Amendment. So what this says is taxing jurisdictions, your county, city, fire department, if you're in Raytown, school district, all the different taxing jurisdictions. The Hancock Amendment states that an increase in revenue outside of an inflationary adjustment. So inflation, I'll come back to that in a second. You cannot increase your revenue without a vote of the people. So let's say city of Raytown, let's say their property values for the entire city went up on average 80%. That doesn't mean that the city of Raytown is going to increase their revenue from property tax by 80%. They can't. Hancock Amendment gets triggered. So what happens? The mill levy has to come back because we cannot increase our revenue by 80% because it's illegal. So what you will see is an increase for inflation. And I know that's been a hot button topic over the last several years is inflation, because that's going to be a big adjustment. I don't know what it's going to be, but your property value is on your notice is as of January 1st, 2023. So they're going to set the inflation based on that. And in September-ish, you're going to actually get a property tax bill, or it's going to be put on your mortgage, like we were talking about earlier. So I just lost my train of thought. So the Hancock Amendment, yeah. So the mill levy has to be rolled back. So long story short, my property taxes are not going to go up 80%. They may go up 7%, 10%, because that's all you can raise it by is that level of inflation. So there is a little bit of a silver lining. Your property taxes most likely will not go up double, triple, whatever the numbers are. Now, let's say you talk to, after this workshop, you go and talk to a realtor and they say, hey, we pulled these comps. We think you have a case. We think you're overvalued by the Jackson County assessor. What's that going to cost? So for a residential appraisal, you're looking at about $500–600. So you need to weigh that. Let's say the realtor say, yeah, we think you have a case. We think your property value should be this, which is going to save you $200 in your overall tax bill. If the appraisal to actually appeal your taxes is going to be $500, does that make sense to do it? No. Now, let's say you have a $1,000 savings that the realtors find comps for. Should you appeal your taxes? Yes, because your net gain is about $500. So, Stacey, am I missing anything? Where did you go? Right.
Oh, question. You're looking for questions?
Yeah.
Oh, we have one right here. Is that what you're saying, Ryan?
Do what?
You're looking for questions now?
Sure. Why not?
Are you? I missed them. If you, somebody.
Oh, you're back there. You're like a ninja.
We're right in the back.
Yes, my name is William Ingram, and I live in South Kansas City, Jackson County. And I got a 44% increase in my assessment. And to me, it's too much. I've been retired for several years, and I'm 80 now, it's actually a little over 80. And I read that Governor Parson had left it up to the counties to decide for people that are 65 or over not to pay real estate taxes and so forth. So I wonder where that it was left up to the counties, he said, to decide that. And so where are we on these matters?
So like Stacey said, I'm only a city councilman in Raytown. To my knowledge, Jackson County has not breached that at all. I know the governor hasn't signed anything. So really, I would urge you to reach out to your state representative, your state senator to get that ball rolling, which there is justification for that. I mean, you're retired, most retired people are on a fixed income. So I do understand that, but to my knowledge, that is not in effect right now. And
if I can do a quick update on that, it's on the governor's desk waiting to be signed. If he doesn't sign it, it'll automatically go into effect at some point this fall. One of our speakers may speak to this, but I think you are right that the county will need to take action. So even if the governor signed it today, Jackson County legislators, and Dan can speak to this when he comes up to talk, the Jackson County legislators need to create an ordinance and pass it first, and it's not going to impact our seniors this particular tax period. And we'll ask Dan to talk about that because I'm all the way in the back of the room. And so I'm going to have another question for you here, and I'll work my way to the front. Wait, just a moment, just a moment. You have the microphone here. Here we go.
Ready? No, I had just read about 3 or 4 hours ago online that the bill, they expect Parsons to sign it. Now, this is just what's online, but they said they expect him to sign it within a few weeks. And this should be applied to the 2023 tax year. Now, again, I can just quote what I read online, but.
And honestly, I haven't read the bill, so I'm not well versed on it, but I don't know if there's an emergency clause on it or not. But I'd have to read the bill in order to be more, I guess, be more dangerous on the topic.
It's been trying. We have a lady back here, and then another one here, and then a couple more on our way to the front before we move to our next speaker.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm on a fixed income, my husband and I've been retired. And I'm just wondering whether instead of paying for this appraisal, that if we can get comps from a realtor of the area that we live in, and can we take that information and submit that along with, should we add what our house insurance is as well, what our insurance company values our dwelling to be, and like average that? You think they'll take that information so we don't have to pay $500 or $600 to have somebody come and do an appraisal?
So for the insurance question, I'm going to defer to the insurance agent because I know nothing about insurance. What I will tell you is there is a formal appeal process and an informal appeal process. And the informal appeal process, basically, if you talk to the realtors tonight, they give you 5, 6 house comps. All you have to do is you do the informal appeal, you fill out the paperwork, you show up to the courthouse and say, here's the comps that I have. This is what I think my value should be. And they either say yes or no. If they say no, you're more than welcome to do a formal appeal where you step it up a notch, and that's where you hire an appraiser and they say, I think it's worth this. And then you go and have a tax appeal.
So do I have to go down there? I thought that I could fill the form out online. I've looked at the form and I've got the comps already. I didn't know whether or not to include the insurance.
We're going to have the Emily with legal aid. She's going to talk about the process and the form too.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and so we have another specifically questions for an appraiser.
Yeah, question, and it is kind of confusing to me. I recently got my tax. It went up from 200,000 to 493,000. I would say that's a little more than double. And I recently did had some estimates on my home for loan value. Can I take those? And what's confusing to me is the comps and getting appraisals. Can I use the appraisals versus the comps? I keep hearing that back and forth, and it sounds like apples and apples to me.
So that goes back to whether you want to do an informal appeal or a formal appeal. If you do an informal, just take the comps. If you have a previous appraisal, I will warn you, if it's for bank purposes or if it's for some other purpose than a tax appeal, you need to talk to your lender or whoever did the appraisal to get permission to use it, or else it's null and void. Since you aren't the client for a previous appraisal, or the client was a bank, you can't use it for a different purpose. Just a fun fact.
Yeah. Isn't there a Missouri law that says your taxes can't go up? You don't pay more tax. I think it's 14.9% of last year's tax that you paid.
We're going to have one of our other speakers address that. Thank you for that question. We're gonna have that come up, and I think one of our attorneys may be able to address that. I see the lady who's got her hand up right. I see a couple other hands as I work towards.
Okay, I live in a patio home and my neighbor was assessed, went up from 170 to 200,000. Mine is 170 to 380,000. Now, how does the Hancock Amendment, how does that even out? I mean, mine's up 122% and hers is up like 20%.
So-
How did they figure that? Same house, same square footage, and we're attached.
God, yeah.
So that's a fair question. When we talk about the Hancock Amendment, we have to take a 30,000-foot view of this. We're looking at the revenue generation for each taxing jurisdiction. So, in a normal year where, maybe my house stayed the same and my neighbor's house went up 20, 30%, and the rest of the city or that taxing jurisdiction didn't go up, that's not going to do anything. But we've had so many people have their assessed values go up so high that it is going to trigger it. I mean, the amount of revenue that's going to come in, potential revenue for these taxing jurisdictions, it has to be capped, and that's what triggers the Hancock Amendment. So it's not necessarily my home versus your home, it's everybody's home, excuse me, everyone's home together. So that's kind of how the Hancock Amendment works. It's for the taxing jurisdiction, not necessarily your individual property.
Okay, I need to know if these appraisals and how they came up with these numbers. I took the comps of what's on the appraised on site, and one of the houses is appraised at 250,000, and the other houses are in between that and 489,000. These houses have the same footprint, they're the same floor plan on the same street. So how can they come up with these numbers?
Without looking at them or knowing anything about them and shooting from the hip right now, I'm going to say it may be an age and condition adjustment, but I can't comment it because I don't know what they are.
Nobody looked at it. We're going to have a speaker that talks about values, and I know he's probably just dying to get from in front of this microphone. So can we take maybe one more question? Then, are you going to be around this evening?
Yeah, I can hang around for a little bit.
Okay, and what we might do is when we finish with everyone, while we're waiting to talk to real estate agents after we finish and most people are ready to go, if there's any of our speakers that are still stay around, we can ask them personally or talk to them one-on-one or in small groups, because we do have an opportunity to do that. We have a question here and then somebody here. So 2 more quick questions if we could, and we'll come back.
Thanks, I'll be brief. Hi, I had a question about the appraisal process. I had 2 properties last time that were jacked up from, like, one of them, they went from 80 to 140. And it was obvious that they were going comps on the places nearby that had been redone by investors. And I happen to have intimate knowledge of the place next door, and they were comparing me to that, and it had double the square footage. It was on a basement. Mine was a crawl space. There was all these factors. And so I couldn't afford to risk not getting an appraiser. So I paid for it, and he confirmed it was worth 80. Went down to the informal appeal. They didn't even want to see the appraisal. They just, the fact that I told them I had it and they were wrong and this is what it is, they're like, okay, and just rubber stamped it. So I'm like, wow, I didn't even have to pay for that. I could have just came down with a folder full of empty papers. And I get they were trying to clear the files. I get all that, and I get the part about not having enough assessors and all that. But that's not really a good excuse. They didn't even do their due diligence to check their own records to see that the 2 appeals that I won last time were the same properties they jacked up again this time. One of them, they went up 700%. It was a $10,000 hollow house that I used for storage. No wiring, no plumbing, no nothing. They didn't come by and look at it. You'd think the ones that they lost last time, they'd at least go do an in-person inspection before going up again. And what I want to know is the appraisal I paid for 2 years ago is private, thing. Can I use that again this time as my evidence to show that they were wrong last time and it couldn't have gone? And the place, let me tell you, squatters went in since then and they tore a hole in the ceiling. The kitchen and bath are gutted. The plumbing's been ruined. So half the dwelling is uninhabitable. And so it's worse than it was last time. And I can take pictures of that along with that previous appraisal if that'll help. And I'm just wondering if it will.
Okay, so Yep.
You said it went from, your tax bill went from 1,000 to 3,000 overnight.
Stacey, remind me to come back to deferred maintenance if I forget.
Okay, deferred maintenance, okay.
So your question, can you use an old appraisal that's a couple years old? You can, what I'm going to say is you can try. Right. So most residential appraisers, especially in a big city like Kansas City and the metro area, generally we don't like to go back farther than 6 months for sales comps because the market changes so quickly. There's lots of data out there. Like you said, it is a good baseline. I can't guarantee that they would accept it, but they would most likely take a look at it. And Stacey, I'm going to come back to the deferred maintenance. So my biggest suggestion to you as an appraiser, if you know of any deferred maintenance, and when I say deferred maintenance, I mean your exterior paint is peeling on your house. You have a hole in your roof. You have roof leaks. Take pictures. And if you decide that, hey, I need to go do an informal appeal or a formal appeal, make sure those pictures are in there, because usually when the assessor is looking at this, they're assuming that your house is in average condition. So if you need a roof repair, I mean, that may knock $5,000 off of what your market value is. So every little bit helps. It's like drops in a bucket, but take pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Kansas City, Missouri resident, and I'm an anomaly. I'm not protesting my appraised value. I think it's realistic. And it only went up 9.6%, which is fair. But
go buy a Powerball ticket right now.
But I've got a huge disparity. I ran 4 comps, a Realtor ran 4 MLS comps within a 6-block radius. These were sales in the last 3 to 6 months. And all 4 of them were almost double the value of my home. And their tax was almost half my tax. Now that's a huge disparity. So this tax levy formula that's at the bottom of our tax assessment statement apparently does not hold true.
You're most likely correct. And like I was talking about with the Hancock Amendment before, I believe it's both the county assessor, the state assessor, as well as the state auditor that does the actual calculation of your mill levy. So like I said earlier, you take the assessed value times the mill levy, that's your tax. It has to be like double and triple checked. So later this year, you're probably going to see something. I can tell you in Raytown, September-ish is when we get a formal letter from the auditor that says, this is what the total market value of Raytown was based on the Jackson County assessor. That means 19%. That's what the total assessed value is. This is what your revenue would be. This is how much inflation was. So we need you to roll back your mill levy. So that's kind of how it works. Correct. Yeah.
Ask really quickly, then Kansas City is the only school district or the only entity that does not have to roll back a mill levy. Is that right? The Kansas City schools. Okay, we'll ask
That
Mike to talk.
sounds right. I mean, like I said, I'm from Raytown, so
That's
I
right.
don't deal with KCPS.
Okay, that's fine. We'll see if someone else will speak to it. There's a question here, and then I think we're going to go to our next speaker and save Ryan for later.
I got a question. People, we have to get smart. Now, I believe that every tax that goes on in this city should be voted on by the people. And if the people don't vote on it, they shouldn't have no tax pass. Now, listen, Frank White, I heard Stacey mention Frank White a minute ago. That's my cousin, first cousin. Now, let me tell you something. I called him and I said, Frank, what the hell y'all doing on down there? And he said to me, I don't have nothing to do with that. That's come from Jefferson City. Now, let me tell you something. Stacey told you a minute ago, it was Frank White. Now, if y'all want Frank White number, I'll give it to you, because we need to do something about that. That's my cousin.
Oh,
And I'll give you his number right now.
And
she's going down
this
for-
is a veteran. We thank you for your service. What branch of the military did you serve? Army. Thank you for your
Okay,
service.
okay.
Thank you for your service. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a few vehicles. We're gonna literally, I promise, one more question.
Stacey,
that
you've
we're
got
gonna.
a couple up in the balcony too.
Okay, we'll have to get there because we have some cars that are about to either get towed or something. We have a few cars that are blocking people in a white Lincoln MKC license plate GE2 TSH and a red Chrysler 200 license plate ZF5G3A, a gray Honda Odyssey, like it's a handicap sticker there, license plate JC2411, and then a red Chevy Impala, license plate ZA7Y7C. If those are your vehicles, if you could move them, I think they're blocking people in. Thank you, Jabari. We have one last question here that we're going to bring Emily with legal aid up, and we'll bring Ryan back. We'll be able to talk to him in a little bit.
Do we? Oh, I'm coming back. Okay.
Out in Blue Springs, we start having houses being put out like for $130,000 being sold. Then they have bidding wars on it. And a lot of them go up to $180,000, $200,000. And if that's what they're assessing people's property on, are these bidding wars, like the last time I came to a tax thing in April, like the realtor said, you cannot appraise a property more than what the bank will lend you money to buy that property. And that $50,000 difference, the person that buying the house was doing that. But how do you know that that's not what they did?
Okay, so I got part of that, Stacey. Can you say that again?
Yeah. How do you know that Jackson County didn't assess all the properties around me for the bidding wars that I had around me, and that the actual property itself was only put out for $130,000? But because of the bidding war, it ended up at $180,000, $200,000. Now they're assessing these properties at this point. And are they really worth that kind of money?
So. Short answer is yes. So going back to when I said market value, it's what I'm willing to pay and what somebody's willing to accept. Now, if I'm willing to pay this, but he's wanting to pay $10,000 more, that's what he's willing to pay and you're willing to accept. Now, if I go $10,000 higher than him, do you see where I'm going with this? Same principle as an auction. You have multiple bidders, that's still considered market value.
And so Ryan, so I think if you'll just a second here. So what you're saying, pretty much market value is established by what people are paying for the properties, whether it started at 100,000 and ended at 200,000, that 200,000 becomes the market value because someone was willing to pay that for that property.
Generally, yes.
Okay. The exception is, I mean, that is generally the answer. So all of these properties that were in bidding wars that ended up selling for much more than they were listed, that price that they ultimately sold for becomes the market value for that particular home and becomes a comp that can be used to determine market values for any other properties. And so we had a kind of an artificial situation in our marketplace. We'll have real estate agents talk about this. We had an artificial situation in our marketplace over the last few years because of the shortage of inventory where there's not enough housing. There are not enough houses. So people are willing to pay well over list price. But what that did is it increased the market value. So what I would say in your appeal, that you be sure to point that out to the person that you're talking to let them know that it's an anomaly. It's different and it happened over the last few years. And like Ryan said, that is the market value and it's unfortunate, but it is. And we're going to have to use different ways to try to get your values down if it can't be based on those comps. Because some of the comps, some of the values did increase. So we're going to have to do, like you said, the deferred maintenance. What's wrong with the house? And then we're going to have to start looking at it from that point of view.
And make sure to take.
Can,
there we go.
Okay, I'm gonna relieve you. Come on down. We can get questions from you later, but thank you, Brian. And then I just have to say, it's just it's refreshing to have an elected official join us tonight on your own time. And you just didn't know you'd be in the hot seat, but thank you, Ryan. You did a great job giving us a appraiser's perspective. So we appreciate that. Our next, So our next speaker is one of the attorneys that we're going to hear from tonight, and Emily is from Legal Aid. Emily, if you can introduce yourself and then please get started. She's going to walk us through the process and the application and getting that completed. And then we're going to talk strategy after she talks about that. And you'll hear from real estate agents and you'll hear from Dan, and we're going to talk about strategy. Thank you, Emily.
Good evening, all. I'm Emily Joyce with Legal Aid of Western Missouri, the Economic Development Unit. We work with Kansas City neighborhoods to primarily bring suits on vacant and abandoned nuisance properties in an effort to revitalize Kansas City neighborhoods. So that's really our overarching goal. But we also help individuals, for example, property assessment appeals. We are taking on individual cases for those who qualify for legal aid services. So there is an income limit, but for those who are 60 and over, it doesn't matter your income, you qualify for legal aid services. So fun fact. So, I mean, I think a lot of you have gotten the gist of this, but assessment is assigning market value to property for purpose of property taxation. It's conducted by the county assessment department to adjust to current market conditions, you know, and it's reassessed every odd number year. So unfortunately, every odd number year, we're going to, unless something changes, be met with this humongous ordeal. What are the relevant appeal deadlines? I know somebody touched on this earlier. Notices were supposed to be sent out early May. I know. That was originally what I was told when I started doing research into this and contacting the assessment department and board in April. Obviously not the case. So you can go onto Jackson County Parcel Viewer if yours is not to you yet, and you can look it up online through that website. But I hope that at least a good majority of you have gotten your notices in the mail by now. Appeals may be filed May 1st through July 10th. Now that's just the deadline for the application. I have been told that as long as you get your application in by that date, they will accept supporting documentation on a rolling basis up until like your informal appeal or your hearing. So, and I will have the contact information for how you can send in that supporting documentation on a later slide, but I just wanted to touch on that. So what options do I have? How do I go through this appeal process? So you have two appeal options: an informal appeal before the Jackson County Assessment Department. And I've been told that this is an informal meeting with somebody from the assessment department. I believe it's at like 1300 Washington or somewhere around there. It's a request for review to the assessment department asking to change their opinion. You can bring, you know, your supporting documentation with you to that meeting. And I would suggest that you do whatever you have available to you, you know, bring to that meeting. And it's much more so a settlement negotiation, you know, you bringing your evaluation to the table and trying to talk it out with them. Now, the second option is a formal appeal before the Jackson County Board of Equalization. In the past, we've had a lot of success with this appeal. And this presentation, the bulk of it deals with this second option, just because it's the more complicated, meatier option. So, but first I'm going to deal with the informal hearing. You can request a meeting. So how do you set up this informal meeting with the assessment department? Once I've been told, now I haven't actually submitted an online application yet, but I've been told that once you submit it, there is an option to request it, or I would say, you know, go ahead and call that number and you can request a meeting with the assessment department, that informal meeting. It's really key to know if you don't come to agreement, you're not precluded from going forward with a formal hearing in front of the board. You don't have to do this informal option before you go to a formal hearing. I would suggest that you do the informal route first, you know, try to clear it up first ahead of time before a big hearing, but you don't have to, you know, you're not precluded one from the other. Stacey, do we want to do questions now or? Okay. So how do I appeal the formal application? You're going to want to go to the website, and it's the Jackson County Board of Equalization's website. There are other avenues to get here, but I'm trying to get you the most direct route. And down there at the very bottom, there's a big blue button, start your formal appeal online. You will have to create a user account through Jackson County and verify that account through your email. Yes, if you want to write it down real quick. Yeah, take a picture. Maybe we can share. One second, guys. And then there's the telephone number. Okay, yes, thank you for whoever shouted that out. The telephone number should be on your notice, and it is on there. There are a couple numbers on there, but it's the 877 number, and that's how you get your formal appeal. I appreciate that. Sorry, guys. Sounds like it's a process. So under available filings, click on property dispute filing. You'll see there, you can also submit the second option, your supporting documentation, your secondary attachments. Click on begin filing at the bottom. You're going to want to enter your property information. Now you might be asking, where do I find some of this property information? Well, some of it is your address. You can always do that. If you're not having luck, because this website is a little finicky, entering your address, there should be a parcel number on your notice. You can enter the parcel number, and that sometimes gets you easier results. So property type, you'll want to do real estate, real property, and dispute type. I believe there's a BOE option. And you'll want, that's the Board of Equalization. It doesn't seem. Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. If you have something that you can share, I'd like to hear it.
He was saying he's gone multiple routes.
That website doesn't seem to be working. I've done everything possible to get through, and it just keeps putting me back to that format.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Truly. Okay. You'll want to click on your property. You'll see at the very bottom, it might give you multiple properties. I don't know if it will, but it might. You'll want to click on your property. Make sure you have the right one. And then you'll want to just make sure all your information is correct before you hit next button. So the next one, under the dispute details tab, fill out the appropriate information. And then this all is pretty straightforward, but I wanted to draw special attention. There is a option, waive your right to attend a hearing. Do not waive your right to attend the hearing. That's like the formal appeal. So I would that's key, you know, don't bypass that. Make sure you read everything carefully and don't waive your right to a hearing. But the rest of it is just making sure that all of your information is correct. Your opinion value, you'll get that. You might have a pretty good understanding of what you think your property should be worth, but you can get that, as you're gathering your supporting documentation, or as you're going to a real estate agent and getting those comparables. And so you want to put in your opinion value there. And then opinion based upon, obviously where you got your idea of the evaluation. Acknowledge your filing under the declaration tab, basically just signing, attesting to it. And then here you're submitting your supporting documents under the attachments tab. So appraisal document, we've talked about appraisals at length here. That's where if you had it, you would submit it. This obviously doesn't apply to a lot of you, but if you are represented by an attorney, this is where they would submit it, the representative authorization form, comparables from a real estate agent, photos, last gentleman, photos, and then sales documents and all other documents. You would submit all of those right here. And then you submit your application. So these are the supporting documents, just from our past experience that have somewhat worked for us, we've been told in the past appraisals by a certified appraiser, that is the gold standard if you can get it, a settlement statement, sales contracts, comparable sales of homes in close proximity, you're getting that from a real estate agent. Written estimates or costs for any improvements made or needed, current photos of condition relevant to valuation, both interior and exterior, rent rolls and leases, income and expense statements, and depreciation schedules. As I said earlier, it doesn't all need to be submitted at the time of the application. I've been told you may be able to reaccess your application to submit materials before the hearing, but this woman I talked to from the Board of Equalization, Ms. Mashamaki, said clients could even email her the documents and have them added to her file. So if you'll notice, I put her email address up there, and she told me we could do this. So I'm taking her at her word, hopefully. Additionally, she stated that even before the hearings, there will be people from the board there to upload last minute documents. However, I would recommend bring stuff, if you can, digital, hard copy, bring your items to your hearing if possible. And that's why I said don't waive your hearing. You must appear for your hearing. Otherwise, the board will value your property based upon what you've submitted. So if you're hearing, like, I say this because you want to show up, because if they're spouting nonsense, if whoever they have there is spouting nonsense at the hearing, you want to be able to contest that and be like, hey, unlike the house next door, my foundation is garbage, so it shouldn't be valued the same. You want to be able to bring up those arguments. You're asked for your opinion, may offer evidence in support of your valuation, must be in hard copy format. Do not bring photos on an iPad or iPhone, for example. You may ask that it be returned to you after the hearing. There are 5 members of the board, from what I've last heard, and to be helpful, 5 copies would be a good idea. Now, the only issue before the board is fair market value. They have no idea at this point what the taxes will be on the property, and that is not their determination. I know that at the end of the day, that's what we all care about, is our property taxes, but they may consider that, well, a waste of their time to hear about property taxes. They care about the fair market value. It's defined as what a willing buyer would pay a willing seller in an arm's length transaction on the open market. And it's what they're charged with assigning. Their board is legally prohibited from reviewing neighboring properties' assessed value. They only look at similar properties' fair market value as determined by a sale. So fair market value, that's key. Okay.
They're not right.
Mm-hmm.
My position is that they have to show that they are right.
Not really. I can't hear you.
Please, just a second here.
The last 7 or 8 statements that they've sent have said the place is worth X. They have doubled the value of my place within 1 year. No capital improvements have been made. They are going to have to say that the fair market value is what they say it is. And we're going to, I'll take this on into court. I'm an attorney. I'll do a 536 or 537 administrative hearing. And if that guy says, I just looked at it from the road and this is what I think, that's arbitrary and capricious. That won't hold up. There's not a judge in Jackson County that will sustain that. Not one. So I don't want to have these folks thinking that they have to prove their place is not worth what they say it is. They have to show that it is. I have 6 acres of pasture, grass. They're saying it's worth 400% more than it was. I don't think the grass is any more valuable this year than it was last year. So my question is there an attorney? Is there an attorney here? I want one question. Is the presumption, is the burden of proof on them or on us? Which way is it? There's supposed to be an attorney here.
It is technically on them.
Thank you. So they have to, so I'm going to ask the guy, did you look at my place? Because you can't see it from the road. How many bedrooms do I have? What's the square footage? Tell me the dimensions of the land. Tell me what has changed since last year when I paid what you told me to pay.
I mean,
and you know what? They're going to look really stupid. He's going to say, oh, I don't know. I didn't look at it. Pardon me, sir. Okay, listen, the burden is on them, not on us to show it's not worth what they say. It's on them to say it's what they, and if everybody here asks for a formal hearing, they won't have the time between now and December 31st to conduct those hearings. Everybody should ask for a hearing.
Emily, do you have a response to that? Because we're going to have Sherry come up. We're going to have another attorney come up shortly to talk about this. Because something else that we're going to do is we're going to follow up. If we have your email address, we're going to follow up with you. If we gather new information or learn something different before the deadline, we're going to send emails and follow up with everyone and with resources as well. So we will follow up. We have your email address. Let me, are you finished with your presentation? Or are you still going through it?
I'm still going.
Let's better get through it and then let's ask some questions then.
Okay.
Because we haven't, like I said, another attorney that can come along that may be able to answer some other questions for us as well.
As I said, appraisal is the gold standard. At least it has been considered in the past. A recent sale of this in our neighboring properties, MLS.com is a good source, but you have to have an account for that. So that's where a real estate agent comes in. A homeowner's own opinion of value is always good evidence, but that by itself is not going to sway the board. And you can, something relevant, you can appeal the board's decision, and you would do that by appealing to the Missouri State Tax Commission. Those appeal forms are available online at their website. Take note here. Appeals of the BOE decision must be filed. Well, we'll see if this application, this deadline is tried or true, considering, as this gentleman said, everything hearings might get pushed back. We'll see. So, but in previous years, appeals had to be filed no later than September 30th or 30 days after the date of mailing the board's decision, whichever is later. That might change, subject to change. Should I appeal? And this is the only word of caution I provide. The obvious answer may seem to be yes, but consider, do you live in the West Side neighborhood? I do want to point out the legal aid does offer a program for those in the West Side. The 353 program where it is, I forget if it's 10 or 20-year tax abatement. So I would encourage all of you in that area to apply for that. You may be receiving a good tax abatement if in that area. If not in the program, contact our office to see if we can get you signed up. But consider filing appeal may do more harm than good in certain situations. And I will say this might be an outlier. We have, in all of the clients that we've had come in so far, we've told one person that they probably shouldn't file appeal. And it was just, he was in the West Side and he was actually pretty, I would say his assessment was pretty darn fair. And so we just, because the thing with the Board of Equalization, we haven't seen it happen, but they do still have the power to raise your assessed value. So I advise him, maybe don't poke a sleeping bear. If you're not going to get priced out of your home, if you're comfortable with this, sir, don't alert them to the fact that you are getting a good deal. And so, but really, this is a case-by-case determination. How do you determine whether your home is undervalued and should not appeal? Google your home. I know Zillow estimates, it's a rough estimate, but it's better than nothing. You may still have a case if your home is in poor condition, you know, as I said, if your foundation is in very poor condition, home hasn't been updated in several years. Because then your valuation might be taking too high, might be too high. So it really is a case by case consideration. And there is our number, and then you can email me with questions.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we have, if you can come on back, I'm gonna have Sherry DeJanes talk, then we're gonna have both attorneys take questions if we could. Oh, you have to leave? Okay, let me, before you leave, let me see if there are any questions. Is there like one or two burning questions because she's gonna have to leave? And keeping in mind, we have another attorney coming up. So for her specifically, I'm gonna take this gentleman here and then the guy in the green shirt here before she leaves. You wanna, oh, is the PowerPoint available is your question. She can make it available. So if we have your email address and we're going to capture it later, if we didn't get it already, we're going to capture it and give you an opportunity to leave it for us. And we'll send you that and any other follow-up information that we may have and any resources. Can you pull the screen back up? You would like the last slide on the screen with her contact information. And then is that what you're going to ask for? Okay, here's another question.
Good. When I had a lady come to my house and knock on the door and said, you know, do you have a furnished basement, unfurnished? Are there any additions, so on and so forth? Is there a way to know what options when they came to the house with this little tablet was punching a bunch of boxes? Is there a way to get that information? Did they put it in correctly? If what I said it was a furnished basement and now it's not, how do I know that what they're entering in there is accurate information? And I just want to say thank you for your time.
Okay. Do you want to get that, Emily?
Not a public speaker.
But you're doing wonderfully well and we thank you. Just like Ryan.
So I have been told that you can serve discovery, which forgive me for my non-attorneys, it is you can serve written questions on the assessment department. You send it to the assessment department, it will work its way to the city councilor's office. I have been advised that that's how we're doing it. I apologize if that's doesn't go as smoothly as that, but you can ask them for the results of their physical inspection on your property.
Just a second here. Let me say this. Ryan Meyers, our appraiser, our public speaker here has a response too.
So, hi, the introvert is back again. It might be worth a chance. I'm not going to guarantee it. I know Missouri's a non-disclosure state, so it might be a stretch. Call the assessor and ask for a copy of your property record card. Your property record card is going to have your site area, your building area. It should have a sketch of your house so you can double check it, make sure everything's on point, and they should be able to give you a copy. What do you say? You what?
You said they have to provide it. They have to provide it. Our attorney friend said that they have to provide it for you. It's not an option. One more question. There was a hand. The fair, what is it called again? Fair property record card or PRC. And our attorney friend there said that they have to provide it for you. Okay, we have one. There was a gentleman somewhere with a question here. This lady right here, and then we're going to let Emily leave because she has to get out of here. She's been running on overtime. And then we do have another attorney coming up, and we will have some action steps for us tonight.
Thank you. I wonder if you mentioned rent rolls and those things. I wonder if the market valuations that they give us in any way affect the HUD payment schedules on Section 8 housing. And, you know, if you try to torque that down, your value of your house, will that affect what HUD values your payments at? No way the same. Thank you.
I say no.
Thank you,
no.
Stacey.
This lady right, yeah, that's a big no. A question here, and then we're going to let Emily go home. Yes.
I don't know if you specifically or anybody else can answer, but when you showed us how to go online and fill out the form, I vaguely looked at it from my own home, but I want to know if I'm filling out the form, if I'm requesting someone to physically come to my house and do what they didn't do the first time, which is talk to me specifically, walk the exterior, or are they also having to come in my house? I really don't want them in my house because they told me in the form that they did an exterior inspection. I'm a stay-at-home mom. There's nobody at my house. Nobody asked me any questions. So when I fill out this form, am I giving them permission to come into my home and make up whatever? Or can they specifically do it based off pictures I show them from the exterior?
Not to my knowledge.
I just want to know when I fill out the form, is that an option? If I'm not putting in there, inadvertently putting in there that they can come into my home, or is it all, hey, here's the proof, here's what I'm having to show you what you didn't do, and here's the exterior of my house is what it looks like. And my other question is on the form, when it breaks down everything that this thing here doesn't say anything about my personal home. This is all county. So where is all the proof of my house is, you know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry. No.
Yes, but where on there where it talks about the improvements to the exterior of my home that jacked the price up, or is it specifically just this stuff?
Let me just say really quick, she's just looking at the back of the letter you got that shows where the money goes to the school districts and all of those things. And that's not, there's nothing about your home on the back there. That's just where the money, your taxes go.
As much as it did was because what's listed here, or is it included in what they're saying based off of whatever they have the county listed from when I purchased the home back in 2017? Because nothing's changed on the extension of my house. So.
And I wouldn't have them inside my house at all.
I'm sorry.
They're not coming in my
I
house.
don't understand.
And so, I think we're good. Yeah, I don't, signing the information, the application, does it give them permission to go inside her house?
No, not to my knowledge.
That's not. And they're not coming in my house. Yes, oh. Okay, you want to say something back here in the blue shirt? Let me get to you real quick. No, we're gonna get a microphone and then we're gonna let Emily go. And then we have another attorney coming up. Please remember that coming up next. And then we are going to have a solution. We're going to have a solution for us tonight, an action item. We have another elected official here that can talk about that.
Thank you. I'll talk quickly. The Sunshine Act, that allows us to get information on our homes. You can go to the jacksoncounty.gov.org website under documents request, and I have done this. And I asked them for all of the documents, photographs, information, including the cover sheet from the appraiser, which came by my home and walked around my house. So what this shows is all the information, including within 1 mile of your home, which is the law on it, of the homes that they compared your home to. Now, I've requested this information roughly about 5 or 6 days ago. I had only gotten my appraisal information just several days before. I got the reply yesterday about it. Well, it was Tuesday after the holiday. They said, well, because we're behind, it's going to take 30 days to get this information to you. And if we don't have it to you by August, I believe it was the 8th, then I can reply and ask them to get busy. So here it is. We're all trying to fight something that we don't know what it is. I don't know if they're comparing the same number of same number of square feet, bathrooms, and we know there are discrepancies for a fact. So how can you fight the battle without knowing what you have? So go on the website, request that information, and you're going to be requesting the information that the appraiser based your appraisal on under the Sunshine Act, which is legal law. And they will give it to you, but the problem is they're behind, and I've got to file mine by July 10th. They might have me in court before I even get that information. So my question to an attorney here or somebody this evening would be, is there a way to extend that process until Jackson County provides me with the information they based my assessment on? And we are all legally right to have that information if we request it under the Sunshine Law.
Emily, can you answer that? And then we're going to have Sherry talk about the Sunshine Act. Are you able to speak to that, Emily, or are you talking about the first part of it?
Only my hope that they do extend, they do, but other than that, no, I cannot speak to what they.
Okay, very good. Sherry's on her way up. Emily, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us tonight. Thank you so much. You have our information. And again, our next attorney, and then we're going to hear from Dan Tarwater, who has kind of a special guest for us with an action item. So we're going to hear from Sherry. She is an attorney in private practice. If you can tell us who you are and how to reach you privately too, Sherry. And we thank you for being here on your own time this evening. She has a family member. Can I say who's here in town? Can I say your family member that's here in the 20 years and the cousin and all that? She had a cousin that she hadn't seen in 20 years that she picked her up. She's in town today. So when she finishes with us here, she's going to go get to see her cousin. So thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Sure. Okay, I'm Sherry DeJanes, and I guess the best way to describe my practice is that I'm kind of the Swiss Army knife of attorneys. I have several different areas in which I practice, and in 2019, I was very active in assisting individual taxpayers in appealing the assessments they had received at that time. I was also involved in filing lawsuits. I filed some in particular on my own and collaborated with others for lawsuits they filed. I will tell you that in spite of our best efforts, none of those lawsuits really got us anywhere in 2019. What it did get us were the changes that we see implemented now, although they're not really resulting in what we had hoped for. Previously, they were capping assessments at 14.9% because at 15% and above, they had to go out and actually inspect the property. Now it's absolute as to the kind of inspection that must be done. And that's why so many of you saw people coming around actually taking a look at the exterior of your properties and leaving little door hangers on your doorknobs to fill out and provide information. I want to speak to the point made by the gentleman in the blue shirt about the FOIA request. We did those, and I recommended that everyone do those in 2019 and get the information on your property for 3 years. Before I leave, I will give you my email address, and anyone who wishes to get the form that we use to request that information can do so. As to whether or not you can put off the BOE hearing your appeal, I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that irrespective of what you do from this moment on, the one thing that you need to do if you've had a high appraisal is file for an appeal. When Emily went through the process, she went through the various screens, and in the appeal, you can either request an appeal or request an inspection. Don't request the inspection. You have no assurance that that is going to occur, and you're going to have time to get your appeal filed by the deadline, nor do you have any assurance that that deadline will be extended. Although in 2019, they did have to extend it, and I suspect that may happen now. Do not rest on your laurels and expect that to happen. File for the appeal. I will tell you that when I went on and assisted someone with filing for the appeal, we had a couple of attachments handy. We actually went ahead and uploaded those, thinking that we could come back and add others in later. When we obtained other photographs to upload, I went back in. I was able to pull the application for appeal. I could see the forms that we had uploaded. We were not able to upload additional forms. I don't know if you took down the email of the person at the BOE, but I will give it to you again, because if you go back in to file or upload additional documents and cannot, email them to this person, because she's assured Emily that she will take them and she will make sure that they get associated with your appeal. When you do file that appeal, you will get an email saying, we've got it, and here's your number. Any additional communication that you have with anyone at the BOE or the assessor's office needs to bear that number that you get in your confirmatory email. So the email to send additional documents to is Masha, M as in mother, A as in apple, S as in Sue, H as in help, A as in apple, dot, Mackey, M as in mother, A as in apple, C as in cat, K as in key, E as in ever, Y as in yes, jacksongov.org. So you go in, you file your appeal, and you go, oops, I've got new documents now. And it doesn't allow you to reopen that application and upload them, send them to that email address. One thing I also want to say is that I doubt that all of the appeals are going to be handled by the date the taxes are due. In that instance, you need to pay under protest. You need to understand that there are steps to follow after that. And again, I will give you my email address because I don't know that this is the proper time to address all of that. In addition to the comps that you can provide, you've got the appraisal, but in terms of comps from sales, know that they are required to, quote, be closed at a date relevant to the property valuation, close quote. I have not been able to pinpoint exactly what that means, but I'm going to tell you that you're going to be fairly safe if you start 6 months prior to the first of the year, because the valuation date is as of January 1, 2023, based upon the evaluations that were done in 2022. Also know that the comps are not to be more than a mile radius from your property unless your property is unique and there are no comparable properties within that 1 mile. For them to be comparable, they have to be within 500 square feet of the total square footage of your property, and they have to resemble your property in the number of bedrooms, baths, types of garage, etc. Since the assessor's office has only looked at the exterior of your home, if you have not updated your kitchen, you've not updated your baths, you've got problems with roof, you've got problems with leakage, you've got anything that is going to require that you put money in your home to basically bring it up to snuff, you need to use that information to contest your valuation. If possible, you need to get not appraisals, but evaluations from various companies as to what it will cost to have those repairs done. If you don't have that information at the time that you file your appeal and you find that you're running out of time, there is a space on the online appeal form that says add additional information. What I'm recommending that you do is put, I will have additional photographs, I will have additional information as to the cost of repairs, whatever additional information you believe you will have, put that on there that you will have that by the time of the appeal. I do not believe there is a snowflake's chance in hell that they're going to get to hardly any of the appeals within the first 3 months. And I think most of you are going to have time to go out, get those evaluations from companies as to the cost of repairs or putting on a new roof or whatever it is. So hedge your bets, get that appeal in, but don't rest on your laurels. Go ahead and get that additional information, put it together, get it in a format that's in easily digestible chunks, because when you go in front of the BOE, you're going to just have a very brief period of time. And you will at that time have an opportunity to ask the assessor's representative what the comps were that they used on your property. You also have the opportunity to do that formally in writing. You also have the opportunity to do that if you go forward with an informal review. When you file your notice of appeal and you get your verification email, it will have information there for you to follow through with to, in the interim between filing your appeal and actually going before the BOE, to have that informal review at 1,300. I don't know if it's, yes, okay. You know where it is. Good deal. The appraisals, I think, are going to cost you between $500 and $600 if you can get actual comps, or you can show that your house is not the value they have assessed it at because of the need for repairs or upkeep or whatever, then I would go with those. I mean, $500 to $600 is a chunk of change. And I'm not trying to take anything from you, but most of us don't just have that lying around to put out there. I was asked to address the Hancock Amendment, but I think Brian did a nice job of that. The one thing that I will tell you is that since it was originally passed, there's only been one time, and that was in 1998, where the state revenue surpassed the Hancock limit. And that resulted in $1 billion refund to taxpayers, which on a household basis really only resulted in $40. So I wouldn't rely on the Hancock Amendment to be a saving grace here. Somebody mentioned something about the Kansas City Public School District, and it does have the option to voluntarily lower their levy to ease the tax burden. They showed us in 2019, they weren't going to do it. I believe that will hold true in 2023. This is an area, however, where each and every one of you can have an impact by contacting the school board and letting them know the impact the increase is going to have on you. The more voices that are heard, I think the greater likelihood that it will give consideration to that. The same holds true with your legislators. If you believe that you as a single person cannot do anything, you may be right. But if every one of you as an individual goes forward and takes it upon yourself to exercise your civic duty to tell the legislators what it is that they should be doing as your representative, then they're going to listen to you. But if we all sit back and say, I'm throwing one starfish back, and how much good did that do? Well, each of you throw a starfish back and you'll see what kind of good that will do. I think probably at this stage of the game, it might be best for me just to throw it open to questions.
We're going to take a few and then we're going to turn to Dan, and you're going to want to hear from Dan. Let me just one quick question.
No, it's not even a question. I just want to address the audience real quick and tell you, based on what she said about civic responsibility and duty or whatever, I worked with Angie Ricono of Channel 5 News on the last assessment, and she is a saint for what she did to shed light on this last time. Yeah. One of the things she uncovered was that Frank White's former lawyer that got him out of some trouble a while back had a multi-million-dollar mansion out in Blue Springs, and it was assessed as a vacant lot. So food for thought, election day.
Thank you. You mentioned paying your taxes under protest. Is that clearly communicated at the Jackson Gov when we go to pay our taxes? Is that clearly communicated how you would be paying under protest? Conversely, if your taxes are paid through escrow, that's something that that mortgage companies will facilitate for you?
No, they will not. So if you have a mortgage and your taxes are paid, you're going to have to take it upon yourself independently to do that. I really didn't look at the website this year to determine how clearly it laid out payment of your taxes under protest, but I can tell you that in 2019, it was as clear as mud. So again, I will give you my email address and you can feel free to contact me. And again, you don't really have to worry about that until it gets closer in time, except with that mortgage. And you need to contact your mortgage holder and find out. Typically, they will pay between October 1 and November 15. So contact your mortgage company, find out when they're going to pay it, and make sure that you indicate to them that you want those paid under protest. Sometimes the mortgage holders will work with you. Sometimes you have to do it independently. So that's why you have to kind of dovetail with when they're actually going to pay the taxes for you.
I have a quick question. I called that number and of course I was on hold for a while. I have an appointment, a Zoom call. Is that informal or is that formal? I'm not sure.
Well, it should be informal because they haven't set any of the formal ones. So they will not begin setting the formal hearings until July 11. So the last day to file the appeal is July 10. No formal appeals will be heard until July 11.
Okay, our appraiser's leaving, but he will be there Saturday. He's going to be at Mohart. We're going to be there Saturday. Ryan, thank you so much for being here. And keeping in mind, again, I'm coming over here, keeping in mind that we're going to be doing this again on Saturday at 11 o'clock at Mohart, which is on Linwood, 3200 Wayne. And then we're going to be doing this next Tuesday night at the 28 event space on the west side, 1300 East 28th Street.
Hi. I'm pretty sure that the reassessment value that I was given is below, well, I know it is below what Zillow, Realtor.com and all that list my house as. But I have a lot of foundation issues that are, if I do the whole thing and deal with the floors, because foundation affects everything about a house.
Sure.
That could cost upwards of $50,000. So am I better off going with the informal process, just showing what different foundation people have told me it's going to cost and what flooring people tell me it's going to cost, all related to foundation issues that should devalue the market value. But I'm wondering if I'm risking them going to Zillow and Redfin and saying, hey, you got a deal already, or not even telling me it's a deal already, but just raising the assessment that I have right now.
I believe Zillow or Redfin are inadequate comps for anything.
Exactly.
My experience is that they're a bit higher than the resale, but I would not accept that. And I would say that would be absolutely invalid. I think you, however, need to file your appeal. When you get your confirmation of the appeal via email, follow suit with where the information that they give you for requesting the informal review. If in that informal review process, you're able to resolve it by taking in the photographs of your foundation and giving them rough estimates as to what it's going to cost you to repair it, then the appeal goes away and you will have resolved it. But if you only go for the informal and somehow you find yourself up against the gun with that January 10 date, then you may miss out and you may lose your opportunity to appeal. That's why I'm recommending appeal now, go for the informal in the interim. If you resolve it, great. If you don't, then you go forward with that appeal.
And then to the point about Zillow and Redfin, the best comps to use are those that come from Realtors. And then before we leave tonight, we're going to have the Realtors, since we can't do the one-on-ones, we're going to have the real estate agents share their contact information with you. So you're going to hear from Realtors. Those that come from MLS are the ones that the county are familiar with because they pulled their data from MLS as well. So the comps from the real estate agents are the best ones, and Zillow is usually too high. I have a question here.
I actually have a comment. I think people need to know about our assessments versus some of our legislatures. Frank White, his property was assessed from 356 to 382. Megan Marshall, who's one of our legislators, 365 to 294, and she lives in Lee Summit, and I live in Lee Summit. Mine went up to almost $400,000 from 200 and something thousand. Jalen Anderson, $185,000 to $177,000. Jeannie Laurie, $233,000 to $227,000. Carson Ross, whose daughter is married to Frank White's daughter, went from $258,000 to $206,000. Jackson County Citizen, went from 325,000 to 545,000 is the average. Now, these people that I mentioned, they're also the people who help appoint the assessor and helps also makes the decisions for our assessments. So my question then is, do we have a class action lawsuit? Because this is obviously politically motivated.
My answer to that is a class action lawsuit is really hard to get certified. And we made attempts and took a look at that in 2019 when we were looking at the same kinds of disparities. And across the 5 lawsuits that were filed, none were successful.
Real quick, the parcels website you can go to, you can see your square footage, your neighbors, bedrooms, baths, what their assessment was over the last 4 years, what it is now. Is that evidence that you can use in your appeal, their own? It's not.
You can't use the assessments. You're going in and you're saying your assessment process is invalid. And for you then to choose another assessment to make that point doesn't cut it.
Even though it's absolutely ridiculous, if they put the values on those homes, we should be able to use them for comparables, but they will not allow us to use them. You can't use their own data. It's the craziest thing ever. We have a question here, and then I'm gonna go to the back.
I've owned my home for 35 years. You know, from what I gather, any improvements that's been on this house since I've owned it, I'm supposed to have values on it. I mean, this goes back 35 years.
No, they're not really saying that. And I'll tell you, in large part, what's happening is that we're all suffering from the real estate bubble where the prices went so high over the past year and a half.
All right.
But no, you don't have to justify the improvements that you've made. Simply, they need to take into consideration if none have been made. And if you believe that just based upon the condition of your home, they've overvalued it, then that's what that's when you need to go get the comps.
I don't know how they did it. That's the problem. I don't, just like this gentleman over here said, the burden of proof is on them to show us how they came up with this assessed value.
And that's why when you get in there at your appeal or prior to, you ask that they demonstrate the comps that they use to arrive at the assessment. You look at the data that you get under the Freedom of Information Act request and determine whether or not they're comparing apples to apples or oranges to oranges.
We're in the back. Sherry, we're in the back.
There is no bottom line as to most that can raise your taxes. That's where maybe the Hancock Amendment comes into play and when the millage would get reduced, but it's not going to have an individualized effect. It's going to have an unequal effect based upon the unequal assessments that occurred. And that's why it's critical for you to go ahead. Now, there is one other point that I wanted to mention, and that is Governor Parsons has a bill on his desk that he may have already signed this evening that is essentially for seniors going to freeze property taxes. Now, the problem with that is the base year for comparison is this year. So if you got a giant hit, you cannot afford not to appeal it.
Sherry, in the back.
Okay.
This is a question regarding the 1 mile radius comp. If you live on the border of Jackson County, can you not go into the other county to assess those comps? Or do you have to remain in Jackson County for the comps?
Well, as long as it's within a 1 mile radius of your home and you're comparing apples to apples, i.e. another house that's within 500 square foot of the same square footage as your house, same number of bedrooms, same number of bathrooms, et cetera, it does not relegate the comps just to this county. The key is the 1 mile radius.
When we got our first property assessment, our instinct was we are now priced out. We need to sell and move somewhere cheaper. Are there any landmines in this process of appeals and assessments, anything like that, where if we looked at this, we says, we can't do this, we need to downsize and get a smaller home? Is there anything in this process that could be a landmine or trip us up later if when we turn around to sell and they go, oh, sorry, you tried to downgrade the value of your house, take another $10,000 off your price or $100,000?
That's a risk anytime you put your home on the market, but I don't think in terms of the way you posed it, going forward with an appeal is going to create any landmines for you in that process.
And as a real estate agent, we're going to have agents speak to this, that the county tax value does not indicate market value when it's time to put something on the market. So that should not matter and it shouldn't hurt you, because if your house, even if the county assesses it, as we know for many years, the market value does not reflect necessarily accurately what's going on in our market.
I have a problem that's exactly the opposite of most people. I want to know if I have a legal obligation to advise them if they've made a big mistake in my favor.
No.
Well, wait a minute. I mean,
I'm going to take this mic from him.
I mean, my market value went from over 200,000 to 23,000. There it is. And there it is.
We need to get him in protective custody and get him out of this building. Right, and his taxes went from 3,000 to 326. So he should probably stay quiet. Is that right? Stay quiet. There's a lady over here that's trying to ask a question, and then we're going to do a couple more because we have to get to our next speaker. And remember, we're going to be back here again on Saturday at Mohart.
I just wanted to get the information about getting copies of the assessment and how they assessed our property. Someone mentioned that on Jackson.gov, we could get it.
So your question is, what comps did the county use to pick your value? Sherry, will you speak to that?
That's part of what you asked.
She said, how does she ask for it? And if they get to that point, it's almost like the county will present their evidence, you'll present yours. And at that time, can't they ask for the comps?
Absolutely. But that's like asking me if I want to go into trial without preparing. No, I don't. I don't want to be hit at
So
the
how do you get
last
them
minute with
early?
evidence.
So her question is,
Email address, we prepared a form to submit and I can make that available.
and that's the FOIA or the sunshine request?
Well, that's the same thing. I
Right.
say FOIA, but in Missouri, it's sunshine request.
And then they're asking for your email address. She will give it to us before we leave. And so be prepared if you could to write it down because she hasn't given it yet, but
Yeah,
we do want your email address.
Okay. It's really easy. It's ladylawyerkc@gmail.com.
Will you say it one more time?
ladylawyerkc@gmail.com.
My question is, my husband and I bought a disposable camera and we're wondering, can we take hard copy pictures of the neighborhood where improvements need to be made, including our driveway and a variety of other things? Is having a hard copy of a photo acceptable?
Absolutely. Obviously, if you want to submit it online, you would have to scan it in, but you certainly can take it in both for the informal review and for the actual formal BOE appeal.
Right. And you cannot show them a picture on a phone. They will not look at pictures on a phone. So you must
Correct.
present them, either upload them or have them printed out.
Good call. Just curious if we can, how do we do it, going about auditing the funds are going to the schools.
How do we go about
Because the
auditing?
levy this year is less than what it was last year, yet the tax is higher. I don't understand that. And the school, Hickman Mills, has actually been unaccredited for some years, and they just got past being accredited, but now that levy is less than, and yet the taxation is almost double.
I don't know the answer to that, other than to present it to the state auditor, because that's part of their job. They audit school districts, they audit cities, they audit all kinds of things. So you certainly could request an audit of any school district that you would like. That again, though, is another matter where the more people join you, the more likely it is you're going to be heard and you're going to get what you want.
Okay, we're over here. We're right here.
We're having a major problem with the appeals website. They're not sending an email back to us. We have on numerous occasions filed, and the website's broke.
They said they'd notify.
They said they'd notify us back, and they sent us an email back. Let me tell you, folks, it hadn't happened.
Here's what I think you need to do. The first time it happens, you send an email. There's an email address right there on the assessor's office site. You give it X number of days. You follow up with another email. Say, I sent you this email on XYZ date because I couldn't get through. I still can't get through. What are you going to do about it? Then you calendar it for another 7 days and you do the same thing. The squeaky wheel is the one that gets attention, and you will have documented the efforts you have made in order to file that appeal in a timely fashion. And they're going to be hard pressed to say, sorry, we're not going to hear you appeal. If you have a trail like that showing that you have made every effort that you reasonably can in order to work with their website that is not up to the task that they have set for themselves.
Right here. Here's our question here. Jerry? Can you start talking?
Okay.
Okay, we have.
Ma'am?
My advice remains the same. I don't care what they say.
Okay, right here. Right here.
Thank you. I have twofold question here. First of all, I've been through this process before, and I want to add to something you said. When we pay our taxes in protest, you still have to pay the whole amount. They do not refund it that year. Even if you win, they hold on to it till the next year. This is my experience. This is what exactly happened to me.
If you file under protest and you join in and file a lawsuit, then they will not credit it. They will pay it back to you. Now, that was our only successful lawsuit in 2019, was the paying under protest. And rather than take it to the court, they agreed that everyone who was successful in getting a lower assessed valuation, which lowered their taxes, would get a refund of that tax. And to my knowledge, that was what happened with all of the petitioners who joined in our tax protest lawsuit.
Right. I wasn't aware of the lawsuit. I just know fighting it individually, I did not get mine back. It had to be credited to the next year. This one I can't do. My second question to you is, someone touched on class action. I don't know if you heard, but the majority of the crowd, if we can't do a class action, how do we get representation here? Because I know for a fact, I've been through the BOE process. They will take, for just the people that are still here in this room, they won't get us all processed by next spring. And then there's 3 more of these going on, which is only a small representation of people. Do we need to, and I hate to say this, but I'm a boomer. Do we need to show up on the doorsteps with the media and all of us there to get things done?
It certainly would not hurt. And I think a gentleman mentioned Angie Racono and her efforts. And in large part, those were responsible for getting enough people together, making enough noise that we now have a requirement that they do bear the burden of demonstrating that their assessment is accurate. That doesn't alleviate your responsibility to get in there and say, here's what you need to have taken a look at. But they do still have to, in the final analysis, say, these were the comps that we looked at and we were righteous in our valuation. If they cannot do that, then you're going to prevail in the end. But again, getting enough people together, having your voices be heard in unison through whatever medium possible is going to be certainly the most accessible solution.
Okay, Sherry, I'm a person about action. My question to you, last time you collected people and you pulled them to action with a class action lawsuit, could you be a conduit that we can use through you to get, maybe a lady here asked if we can do a petition. How can we get people together? Because we have some people's email addresses that we saw tonight, some people who registered on Zoom. And so we have a lot of email addresses. And before they leave tonight, we're going to ask them to make sure we have a way to reach them. Who could you be the person that pulls people together, or do we need to find someone else?
I love that you're asking me that in front of an audience full of people.
Because Sherry, you are a lady of action. You get stuff done. In 2019, you were a maverick. So we appreciate that.
I will do the best that I can. I have no assistant now. So if someone's highly qualified as a legal assistant, please call me about that.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Sherry about doing that. And then the email addresses that we have, we're going to be in touch with next steps and with action steps. That's going to be very important. And so make sure that we have your email address and a way to reach you. And we'll talk to Sherry about the best way to maybe pull together a petition or something to collectively get our voices out there with our action steps. Really quickly, and I think our last question for you, there was a question in the back about if you can just review before we let you go, the process. So it's informal appeal, Board of Equalization, State Tax Commission. Can you just talk about what the levels of appeal are?
Well, they begin with the informal appeal and or your request for an interior inspection. The next level is the appeal to the BOE. If you don't like the BOE decision, then you can appeal to the State Tax Commission. The timeline for filing with the State Tax Commission, that September 30th deadline, I think is probably going to fall by the wayside. I had a number of clients in 2019 who, by April of 2020, still had not had their appeal resolved. So probably the most reasonable date to look at for filing with the State Tax Commission is 30 days after you get your BOE decision, if you don't like that.
And so I like the fact that there are different levels. If you're not happy with informal, you can move to the BOE. If you're not happy there, state tax, but start with the informal and definitely get your appeal in by July the 10th. And if you don't have a computer and you're not able to do it,
you can print off the form and submit it manually.
And they also said that you can call the BOE to ask them to do it for you. Because
but if they're not answering the phones for so many things, I don't think I would rely on that.
Okay. All right. Well, then I think that's it. We're going to see you again on Saturday.
Yes.
And so thank you. Thank you. And so again, thank you, Sherry. And we have one more. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you. You can go on up there. And so our next speaker, you know him, you love him, Dan Tarwater. He was formerly the chair of the Jackson County Legislator and on the Legislator for many years. Dan.
Sherry stole a lot of the thunder there. She is a great attorney. She did a lot of work in 2019, and it did push for changes within within the taxing jurisdiction. The issue that we have, going back to 2019, I was a legislator. I was there for 28 years. As soon as the current county executive got in, he started raising these property taxes, and he said, you artificially kept them low. That's true. I said, yes, we all did, with Sanders and Shields before that. Because Jackson County, and the rest of it didn't necessarily need all those kinds of funds. So he started raising them. Then he hit that big one in 2019. We as a legislative body heard from you. All elected officials listen to the voters. They listen to the people. And we all heard it. We passed a resolution 9-0 that Frank White could not raise those taxes, raise those property values. That was in 2019. What did he do? He raised the property taxes. He said, well, that's illegal. I said, yeah, it was. But it gave him cover not to do it. And it was because we're out of compliance at the state. 92% of the counties are out of compliance at the state, usually somewhere around 60%. We were 3% out and raised on average, you saw a couple 100%. So I'm thinking, well, maybe things will steady until I kept getting my assessed. And someone brought up about legislators. Mine has always been high, and every year it went to 14.99% because we also bitched about you can't raise it more than 15% or higher requires an inspection. They tried to say by using Google Earth and by using, the internet, that counted as an inspection. They got shut down at the state and they could not do it that way. So this year, I have no idea how mine went up another 40% and about little over $2,000 just in the tax based off of the levy that it is today, which yes, some of that levy will roll back. So the things to do, I helped about 25 people in 2019 personally, typically elderly people, and I would go to their house. They would call and I would take pictures of the little stain in the ceiling, take pictures of the water in the basement. Water usually comes in the basement. If it's not there, make sure it's there. Take a picture. You got a foundation problem. So all of those things kind of worked. And you want to do that. And then you want to do the formal appeal because none of us like to fill out paperwork and do all these other things. And the burden of proof is on them. If we leave the burden of proof on Jackson County to do it, you're going to pay higher taxes. Let's just be honest. It is on us to do this. So go to the informal process because at that time, you're going to be able to ask, where did you get these values? When did you inspect my house? I called the people down at the state before I got here today, and they're going to say a couple, people are all going to say a couple different things. Here's my tax bill. I didn't get it until Friday. Supposed to be out on the 15th. Can I sue them for that? The answer is no. We found that out earlier. You're not going to win. The weird part is it doesn't even have canceled on it of when I actually got it. I know I got it on Friday, but everybody's going to say they got theirs on Friday. So how does that work? They're going to, it's one way to do it. Yes. So go to the informal appeal with your pictures and that water that's in the basement somehow, and some of the other things that are in your house. And at that point, because they're so busy in 19, they went through a lot of these really quickly and lowered them. And it worked out good for a lot of people. This time, what I'm hearing right now is you can go into 1300 Washington and there are people actually in there right away to help you. Be careful of that. But they may lower, but if they don't, that's not the end. I too would never go to court without having all the preparation. But at that point, you still can then take it to the BOE. And while you're there, that's when you ask them, let me see the comps you used. Let me see how you valued my property. Let me see when you came to my house. I have cameras at my house. I bet a lot of people do too. No one's ever come to my house. I would see it. And somehow mine went up 40%. So I'm going to go and I'm going to fight that. And at this time, maybe I can call Frank White up to help us. Frank? I'm sorry, not here. But here's another good thing. Manny, I see him sitting right over here, Manny Abarca. He is the legislator for this district, which is the new first district. And so come on up, Manny. Thank God he wasn't one of the people that his taxes didn't go up. By the way, Frank's did go up 7%. We got to feel sorry for him on that one. The reason I call Manny up is because he did send me a text earlier.
Thanks, Dan.
Come on in here. And Manny is a friend and Manny can help you. And on Monday, you're having a meeting
Yeah, so Monday, 2:15 to 3 o'clock, that's when our next legislative meeting is. I have opened up the budget committee to hear from you. And conveniently, the budget committee has Megan Marshall, whoever brought that up. Frank will not be there because he believes, like the president, he doesn't have to show up to Congress. So he doesn't come to our legislative meetings. Did he do that with you all too?
He wanted all questions in writing there for a little while, and we said absolutely not. And then we were going to let him leave office if he didn't come to meetings. So just
Yeah.
keep pushing.
July 10th is your deadline. Appeal, 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 appeal. I'm the budget chair. I'm telling you to appeal your taxes, appeal all the formal processes. I was not on that list because my property taxes went up 98%. I fight Frank regularly, so I'm not sure that that correlates, but tracks for the cousin who's here. The other component, I know that this is a very emotional process. My wife cried when she saw the bill as well. But you can't use that emotion to try and fight them in that process. Use that as the fuel, the motivation to get you the pictures, the filling out the processes and procedures, because that will be your value no matter how much we cry, yell, and scream. To the folks who said come down to the actual steps, I'm inviting you into the chambers Monday, 2:15, 3 o'clock. Obviously, if you all show up, it'll give me motivation to do it again. But that is the invitation, 415 East 12th Street, Kansas City, Missouri. The solutions right now are outside of the legislature, unfortunately. I have asked for data. I have asked for maps. I've asked for justifications on the formula. Guess what I have gotten? That's pretty much it, except 98% increase. They don't frankly care, no pun intended. They're not answering our questions from the legislature. We're asking them, go back and look at our other legislative meetings. I am all but jumping in my seat. But I believe the assessor will be there Monday is what we've been told. So I think she will hear that prior to our 3 o'clock board meeting. So I invite you all to come down to Jackson County and to also advocate to the governor to push that, to push other solutions. I introduced a resolution that would introduce caps, that would advocate for seniors to not have their taxes raised, to be frozen, for better payment programs, because a payment program is not going to help someone on a fixed income, no matter what the solution may be. But the state law is 90% of value. If we change that and create more opportunities for the local elected leaders to change those things, we would have more flexibility. We currently do not. General counsel has told me, like they told you in 2019, there is no ability that we have no matter what we pass as a legislature. So outside of yelling and screaming, which I do enjoy, I invite you all to come down. So. Second floor. Yeah, thank you. Second floor. This is Monday, 2:15 to 3 o'clock. The more the merrier. It's going to be a great time. 415 East 12th Street, Kansas City, Missouri, downtown. If you have problems with parking, our office will provide you parking for the garage catty corner to us. Sheriff's Department might stop that, but.
And let me say this, when we did this before, Frank's office is in that building.
Across the hall.
So it's about 18 steps, I counted it, to his office from the chamber.
I've only been once.
So therefore, he should show up for this meeting. And when he's there, it's to put pressure on it. But please call your legislators. They are on your side. When I was there, I wasn't against you people, against anybody's tax stuff. People and help them with their bills and help them, with other things. They're going to lose their house. Try to fix a bunch of stuff and help people, and that help you. And you need to call each one of them, because when we voted 9-0, just to send a message, and hopefully thought he would actually follow through with it. I had legislators that really never really agreed with me on things, and you have some of those too.
Definitely.
Yeah. We voted 9-0 as a unit. You get a hold of each of the legislators down there, they're going to feel the pain. They know it, they feel it, and they're going to try everything to help. So we need which is amazing pulling in here tonight. How many people were here? You were lined up all the way down to Burns and Mac and all the way up to the apartments up the street here. It was a mess getting in here. But thank you for coming. Keep up the fight. Don't say, oh, I can't do this.
We have a couple of quick questions for Manny. We want to make sure we know how to
Stacey,
read.
can I ask one question first? Any other Jackson County legislators, please stand up? I didn't think there would be anybody here, but sorry.
Show off. I do know another one that would have been here had he been in town, Sean Smith. He's been very supportive and reaching out to people. So it's another legislator. Question to you, how do people reach you? Did you already leave that? Did you share that?
No, I have a couple of cards, but happy to share information for you.
You can say it. You can say they'll write it because they've been keeping good notes.
Abarca, ABARCA@jacksongov.org. You can email me. That's the best way.
Could you repeat that?
MABARCA@jacksongov.org. Now I'll tell you, I get like 20 emails a day about property taxes, so I'm hearing it. But if you all email me, I too can't respond to you, but share it. And please include a copy of your tax bill as well, because I like to read those types of things on the dais and say, I'm sorry, Mrs. Assessor, the 36% average that you say exists. I have 228% increase. I have 137% increase. Here's the address, the location. Prove to me that 36% is the average, because she hasn't yet, and I've asked for that information.
And another quick question for you. Trying to think. I think you've answered it. But let me ask this one. When the governor does sign the Senate Bill 190, we understand that it does take action from the Jackson County Legislature to put something in place. So if he signs it, it doesn't immediately go into effect. You guys will have to take action. What are the chances that we will get an ordinance from you all to say that, and knowing it's not going to go into effect immediately, but that it will happen and protect some of our seniors next time?
Yeah, so my understanding, I've had a couple of conversations with Sean about this, Sean Smith, the other legislator who's been working with you all. I told him I was in full support. I was the one who carried the original resolution to support SB 190 that was in that bill when it was just advocacy. So I'll be the same there. And I'm sure that 9 of us will probably be all in alignment. You probably should check on your county executive though.
Okay. So then Sean and Manny are our champions at this particular point.
Happy to be.
Taxes.
Yeah, he's carrying the language. We've been told, I think, by the general counsel's office that we can't do it until the governor signs the bill.
Okay, so we'll make sure everybody has contact
Yeah,
information.
and
for
we've been keeping up, so.
Right. Okay, so just a second. I hear a voice and I want to hear what she's saying. Somebody's talking. Where is she? Who's talking?
Straight back.
Oh, straight back. And then I'm going to ask the real estate agents to be prepared to come to the front just to introduce yourselves before we leave for the night.
And
We're
I'll
about
stick
to wrap
around,
up.
so if other folks want
Okay.
to ask questions.
Oh,
Yeah, what I was saying is if you were just talking about the bill that you're talking about the governor's going to sign, if you're 65 and older, it also states that if you make less than a certain income and you're on a fixed income, that your tax should stay the way
Frozen.
it is. But earlier, someone said that if they get this through, this would be the lowest one.
Correct.
My question was, if he does sign it and I can get mine down or whatever, it also says that Jackson County would have to approve that. They don't have to approve it. So were you just saying that you guys would vote to approve it?
There's no doubt in my mind that we do that on a Thursday with the Fox in a box,
It
whatever.
would be you guys that would have to approve it. The legislator.
Yeah,
in
we would
Jackson
need to.
County.
And I think there's a question about the obligations for the taxing jurisdictions, if that's still owed from the county, that I think the governor is also trying to sort out, from what I understand.
Did you say that we won't be seeing this increase right away? Because like, I'm on Social Security. My house payment's $1,500 a month, okay? So I can't afford the $6,000 they're wanting to charge me extra a year on property taxes. I'll have to sell my house.
That's the appeal. You have to appeal right now because it will be what the 2023 value will be.
Okay, my other question was, just like what she was saying, what it says on this paper, like she said, hers is 6,000. Does that mean that's what it's gonna be? Or is there a chance it will be lowered by the time you get your actual bill? Because it does say this is not your bill.
Yeah, it won't be this one. It'll be the October. I think Ryan mentioned that is the actual bill. This is just the notice. But if you appeal, it'll be whatever that appealed value will be.
The answer to that is the levies are set by the Jackson County Legislature and they're based off of actuarial tables, but they do have discretion to lower some levies in different points. In 2008, 2009, we lowered all the levies, we rolled them back because of the situation where 40% of the homes were foreclosures. We were in a recession. Right now, we're at a point where I'm assuming that the legislature is probably going to have to do something on this too, if it's not corrected.
Sure.
That bill doesn't have anything to do with what the levies are going to be because those have not been set yet. They won't be set until October, November.
Went through this process last time. Was in front, did the informal hearing in front of the BOE. Mr. Wright was on the left-hand side sitting, and he says, we're going to keep you at the level that it was. That was great. Walked out, felt good about it, got the tax bill, it was higher. The next year, the second year,
Twice
it
as
was
much.
back up to where it was originally when I got the first tax bill. That is not fair.
So the assessor actually addressed this issue in one of our legislative meetings. And she said for folks who had appealed and were victorious in lowering their levy, they should expect twice the levy this year. So in fact, I think you got a break according to what the assessor has said, but that's the callousness, unfortunately, that we here in the legislature, we push back and there's nothing. It's an echo, unfortunately, from the other side of the wall.
Okay, so our goal is to make sure of the collective voices that we have, Manny,
Yeah.
that we have,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Manny, we have email addresses. Sherry's going to collect some information and we're going to work with you and Sean. We're going to work with you and Sean to have our voices heard going forward to get some of these amounts reduced and to change it for next time. So we don't have to go through this again because it's absolutely ridiculous and it's not fair that people have to worry about losing their homes and becoming homeless or having to move somewhere. And we know with our inventory, there's nowhere to go. So if they sell their homes, who's buying it? And then where will they go?
I was the lone vote against the tax sale contract in an attempt to stop that from also incurring. But that didn't work. So
Okay,
8
well,
people voted against me.
we have you now. So we know you and Sean Smith will work with us and we're going to be in touch with you. And Monday, hopefully we'll get a turnout. And for the people who are here, we have your email addresses. We have, I think, a sign up at the desk on the way back if we don't have it at the table on the way out to make sure we have your email addresses. Before you leave, I'd like to have you meet a few real estate agents because we can't do our one-on-ones, but we have real estate agents again who are here that are willing to help you. As I'd like to ask them to introduce themselves to you. Come on. Any more, did they all leave? Did my real estate agents leave? Any more real estate agents? I got them. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Good evening. I'm Sheridan McCorkle and I'm with Compass Realty Group. If you would like to take my contact information, let me know when you're ready. It's kind of long. It's SHARID like dog, AN .M like Mary, CCORKLE at Compass, COMPASS.com. And my phone number is 816-519-8540. I worked as a hearing officer before, so I sat with taxpayers like yourselves and helped you to appeal values in front of the BOE. If I could say one thing, fight. Fight, fight, fight. When you can, if you have time before the 10th, and they said you can go ahead and appeal and then still put your case together, get some estimates of work that you know you need done. Bring those pictures in. Like he said, if you got water in the basement, I can't stress that enough. And even if you go in front of, because I don't know how they're going to do it this year, if you're going to sit with the realtor and the assessor, if you have to go in front of them, fight for that value. Do your best to try to convince them why you believe your value is lower, and go in front of the board if you have to. There are over 13,000 agents in the Kansas City area. So if one of us can't help you tonight, Get on Google, get on Zillow to find the agent. Don't look on there for your value, but get on there to find the agent. There are tons of licensed people in Kansas City that should be able to help you to put together what your value should be, or at least to help you find those comps, okay?
Hi, everyone. My name is Krishan Harris. I work at ReeceNichols, the Plaza office. A little bit about me. I've been in real estate for just a few years. I'm a chair of community agents at ReeceNichols. So kind of our big thing is community involvement, really helping give back to the community that gives so much to us as real estate agents. So I'm happy to help anyone who needs help with pulling comps to help support their appeal. If anyone's ready for my phone number, I'll start. It's 816-210-7217. So 816-210-7217. And then my email is Krishan, so KRISHON at ReeceNichols, ReeceNichols.com. And the phone number is 816-210-7217.
Their finance committee.
My name is Krishan Harris, and my email is KRISHON@ReeceNichols.com. And if I get too many emails and I can't help, I have plenty of agents at community agents at ReeceNichols who can help as well.
All right, thank you guys for showing up. That's always the first part. Show up. You got information today, so after they're showing up, it's always that show up and show out. My name is Terrence Williams. I'm a ReeceNichols agent also. Literally stay 5 minutes away from here. So any information you guys need, it's always free to ask a realtor. We're always here ready to give you information. My guy, he just left said he didn't have to show anything in his folder, but we'll be happy to give you guys proper comps for your folders. We don't want you showing up with your grandkids' homework folder or anything. We'll give you proper documents and get you where you need to be for this appeal. Like I said, my name is Terrence Williams. Phone number is 816-433-5779. My email is Terrence, so TERANCE at ReeceNichols.com. Like I said, thank you guys for showing up, and hopefully everyone gave you information you can use today.
Hello. Hi, I'm Susan Lopez. I'm with Keller Williams Key Partners. And I've lived in the Kansas City Metro for a long time. And my email is susan.lopez@kw.com. And my number is 816-419-9122. So if you need help with comps or anything. I'm in Waldo, Prairie Village, Overland Park, or, the Kansas side, but also on the Missouri side, all over. 816-419-9122. And I can give you comps. I'm a real estate broker for over 22 years. Susan Lopez.
Susan Lopez. And thank you all, Sheridan and the other agents. So I think that's it. There's a sign up on the table out there, or if you have just a way for me to get your name and number, write it down, or business card, I'll take it. We just want to make sure we stay in touch with you. Don't forget Saturday and Tuesday. Thank you all very much for coming. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
The news media show up.
Where'd he go? Oh, okay, you're welcome. They were here. They were here. I'll take them now.
I saw where you were running. And I voted. Oh, thank you. A lot of people.
You're still alive.
Uh-oh. On now, hello. And we do have some information, a cheat sheet with some information, a lot of frequently asked questions that we're going to hand out as well.
say, you know, they're probably on that Sunshine Act, they're gonna be asking people to pay for all those copies.
I hope not. She didn't say that.
They didn't say that, but I've seen it request by news agencies, they always have to pay for it.
I hope
And
not.
so-
I mean,
so-
because she didn't, I'm sure she would have said
That,
that.
I wanted to ask and see if, so you might want to ask them. Do they
Okay.
have people have to pay?
Okay.
How soon will they send stuff to us on the email?
Because I'm
gonna be going out of town. I want to see how fast.
When do you leave? When are you leaving? I'll try to do it.
I'm gonna hear another week, but I mean.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to do it within a week if I can or sooner. I'm gonna try to pull all the email addresses together
Okay.
and get it out to people.
Okay.
Did you didn't register any other way, right? How do we have your email address?
did get registered.
Okay, that way. So we have your email address, for
Okay.
sure.
One of your,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
is there charges for the comps?
No,
risk that.
agents typically do not charge for providing comps. They'll usually do it
Oh,
free of charge.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Jay, we'll talk later.
Hey, Jay, hey, you guys, hey, good talking to you. A couple times.
Sean Smith in
you.
a positive way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm his neighbor. I did his son's wedding, lives across the street.
Thank you.
And in our neighborhood, his tax, his assessed value went up. Or his parking went up $2,000. and the rest is-
So he's a good guy.
Well, that's what surprised me.
You're welcome.
So,
Uh-oh.
keep pushing it. I think there's.
That will-
I think there's.
Oh, I think- And Joseph has more of these. I don't know which. Okay, I hope it's hopeful. That's all I can.
Probably not.
Yes.
And Stacey, I want to say, thank you for doing this. And thank you for coming to our neighborhood association meeting. That's where I first met you.
Where, which one?
Swope Ridge.
Oh, yeah, years
With
ago,
Pat
years
and
ago,
Cheryl?
years ago, when I ran for office.
Yes. I said, oh yeah, she's a
Yes,
council lady.
yes,
They're like, no,
more.
she's not. I'm thinking, yes, she is.
Should have been.
That's how I knew.
Should have been. He has more of those.
Thank
forms.
you, hon.
You're welcome.
No, no.
He has more of those forms. I wish I had. He has them back there. He's handing them out.
I have a quick question. I live in Lone Jack, which is a semi-rural area. I called the local real estate agent to ask for comps, and she said there are none. My house is very unique. All of that house is.
Did we talk by phone? Did we talk by phone?
No.
Somebody else is the same situation.
Yeah, and so what do I do to get, you know, because she just said there aren't any.
So I
All of
would,
the homes around have are new.